Morning, Alistair. How are you?
Morning. Yeah, very well. How are you doing?
I'm really well, thanks. Really well. This is Al Russell from Venrex Investment Management. And so, from future sort of consumer technology business to consumer products, Al's job at Venrex is to discover and invest in the next super founder companies. Venrex work with people like Revolut, Charlotte Tilbury, companies that will really change the kind of technology landscape. And with crypto and Bitcoin mere buzzwords when he was at school, these new technologies are very much part of Al's everyday. And his latest role is exploring consumer web-facing Web3 investments for Venrex. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, no, that's very fair to say. Yeah.
Excellent. So looking back, Al, was your future always in future tech when you were at school, or did you have sort of other aspirations?
No, not at all. So actually, I was playing a lot of cricket at school and trying to be a professional cricketer. So on age 17 was on Essex County Cricket Club's booked. Aged 18 was playing for their second team, hoping to get a contract age 19. That
Yeah.
didn't quite work out, so then went off to Edinburgh University, still trying to make it as a pro during that time. But it wasn't until I'd actually left uni and given up that dream of being a professional cricketer that I got into sort of tech side of things.
And what did you where did you go to uni, and what did you do at uni?
So I was at Edinburgh University and studied geography there.
Right. So really kind of not left field, but I mean nothing to do with tech or anything like that or
No,
investment.
not at all. Yeah, not at all. It's nothing to do with tech. I was doing a bit of investing on the side while at Edinburgh University, so that kind of fueled my passion and love for the game now, and kind of got me into it early doors.
And what did you do? So I know you're an avid, love your sport, love having a slight flirt with the bookies and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
When did that kind of how did you develop your knowledge on all that, sort of moving into this sort of tech side of it?
Yeah, so I was playing a lot of cricket and then had a passion for markets as well. Uh, and then my dad's bit in finance as well. So around the table, I'd always be listening to him talking about markets and finance. So I kind of put the two together, which led to me doing a lot of trading of cricket as well, and was successful enough at it that then I had a bit of surplus cash to be investing in the markets. And as with all things, my journey didn't start off particularly well and ended up doing quite a few startup investments, a few on Crowdcube
Yes.
that haven't actually ended up particularly well. But there's hopefully a couple of gems in Crowdcube that I did back, but
Excellent.
still going to have to wait a couple of years to find out whether that is the case.
It's kind of learning on the go. So when you left Edinburgh, did you go and seek kind of relevant work experience? Were you looking for something in this sector?
So I did an internship with Venrex back in 2017, so first year of Edinburgh, and was very lucky that I joined just as we were looking at Revolut at the time, uh, and so that kind of really fueled my passion for early stage investing, because I suddenly thought it was a good experience, but also a bad experience because Revolut obviously went on to be one of our most successful portfolio companies, and that was the first company I saw. So I thought, hang on a minute, this game's pretty easy. This is an absolute no-brainer. I've got to go into early stage investing, but quickly realized that actually that wasn't the case. And there's a hell of a lot of thought, a hell of a lot of sort of processes behind trying to pick a Revolut, or a Charlotte Tilbury. So it was a good experience, but also a big learning curve at the same time.
Yeah. Okay. And tell me a little bit about Venrex and what they do.
Yeah, so Venrex is a pre-seed and seed fund. So that means we're investing, either with a founder coming to us with a piece of paper and an idea, or the
Yeah.
founder's launched and they've got early traction. So they've got customers, they're selling a product, and then we'd be taking a view. We'd be looking 5 years ahead and going, where do we think this is going to end up?
Yeah.
So Charlotte Tilbury, for example, she came to us with an idea, and obviously, she had an incredible reputation as well, and we helped build out the business plan and put people into the business. But that was very much us backing an idea at the time, and was one of our more successful businesses. Where we're looking to invest, largely in consumer products. And then we're also where technology is disrupting the consumer space. So on the consumer product side, we've done the likes of Charlotte Tilbury. We've done electric motorbikes. We've done makeup brand. We've done Vive. So we've done a number of different things on the product side, and then on the consumer tech side, we're looking for technologies that are really going to change the way that consumers interact with the world. So Revolut was a great example of that. Traditionally, people would go abroad and use their HSBC card and get nailed with transaction fees, whereas Revolut suddenly came along and they wanted to disrupt the high street bank model and allow people to transact with far lower FX fees when going abroad. So I guess that's what's really exciting for us, is being able to see these new technologies way before they've even come onto the market. So it's incredibly rewarding as well to see something where in 2016 or 2015 Revolut, we had this vision that everyone's going to be using Revolut to go abroad, and people called us crazy at the time. And actually, now 7 years on from that, it's materialized that a lot of people are using Revolut cards. The majority of people, I'd say, are using Revolut cards to pay for things abroad.
Those are two amazing success stories to be involved right at the beginning of Revolut and Charlotte Tilbury, because they're all gone gangbusters. But when you look at the Venrex website, you look at a whole list there of wonderful brands, most of which one would be familiar with. What would you say has been your most exciting investment? It may not have gone so well. What's been your most interesting and exciting investment so far?
Most exciting investment. So I'd say it's one that's coming up through the ranks at the moment, which I actually led about 6 months ago. It's called Village Studios, and what they're doing is they're trying to achieve interoperability with in-game assets. So currently, with your Fortnites and your Call of Duties, if you buy a skin, so Fortnite, if you buy a skin for your avatar, that has to remain within the Fortnite ecosystem. Whereas these guys, they're ex Angry Birds, ex Rovio, so they've got an ex EA Sports, incredible team. What they're trying to do is allow you to take a skin from one game to another, so achieving interoperability with in-game assets, which is a massive problem, and it's the holy grail of gaming for gamers. So they're trying to tackle this problem at the moment, and the way they're doing that is they're building out 2 games themselves to prove that they can move assets between those 2 games. And then once they've done that and proven that out, they're going to be rolling this, speaking to bigger games like Fortnite, Call of Duty, to see whether they can roll those in-game assets to their games. So that's a really interesting one, because it's something that people look at it on the surface and go, no, that's impossible. But actually, a really good team taking on a big problem like that's what gets us really excited.
I think that's fascinating, because that's such a huge market, and
such a huge market,
and it's such an obvious idea in a way, but clearly there's an issue. I think it's fascinating,
and no one solved it, because it's bringing in lots of different elements as well. Because people often go Fortnite. One of the big questions that people say, so why would Fortnite want that to happen? Because currently it's a closed ecosystem, so they're earning from all the transaction with their ecosystem. So these guys are having to sort of take that issue on board and address the problem of making all of these games interoperable and sharing revenue between games. So if they crack it, it's going to change the gaming ecosystem for good. But it's a big problem they're taking on.
Brilliant. So tell us about super founders, and how do you know if you've discovered one?
So it's really interesting question, and ultimately we're a founder-driven fund. So when we're backing something, we're backing the founder to make the company a success. So a founder can come to us with a great idea, but if we don't believe the founder's the right person to make that company a success, then we'll sit out the round. And sometimes that's frustrating, because we'll see a brilliant idea and we're like, we really want to back that, but we just don't believe the founder's the one to make it a success. So what we're looking for is, it's interesting, but one of the questions we ask our founders is what's your motivation to make this business a success? And often founders have a drive to make that business a success, which no other founder can sort of compare to. So for an example of that, is actually there's often early traumas in their childhood, which has led to them having this amazing drive and ambition to either prove their parents that they can be successful. Maybe they were bullied at school, and they're out there to prove that they are going to make a success of the company that they're building. So it's interesting that probably our most successful founders have this amazing drive from something that's happened earlier in their life, to make the business success. And that means they're going to knock down all barriers to make that business success. They're not just going to stop when they come across a roadblock. They're going to find a way around that roadblock, and they're going to keep driving to make the business a success.
It's such an interesting view from as an investor to back the individual, because so often that's the case. You know, there are good guys and bad guys, and you know, to back the right one is key.
100%. And a lot of people say they do back the individual, but we like to feel we take that to another degree, and we really do back the individual, because they might start on one idea, but actually that idea might not work, but they're good enough as a founder to pivot and come up with another idea that's in the same space, but is going to be able to capture more market share. So it's absolutely key that you believe in the founder, and that he's going to be the one to make it a success.
Brilliant. So look, Al, these discussions and videos are really for kind of school leavers, sixth formers, upper sixth formers, who are thinking about that minefield of what am I going to do how do I get to university, first of all, what am I going to do when I leave university? You've gone down the investment into kind of future tech route. In the sort of technology sphere, what other career paths would you recommend? A bit of a tricky question, but what would you recommend?
Within technology, what I find, if I wasn't investing, I'd probably be throwing myself into a founding team. Not being a founder, but getting into a small startup that's trying to tackle a really interesting problem, because you'll learn. And in the tech, so it might be, there's so much going on within Web3 at the moment. So it might be a startup like Village Studios, the one I mentioned about in-game assets. It might be a metaverse company. But I'd be trying to get into one of these companies that's early, so you get responsibility, you learn a lot, you've thrown out of your depth. And for me, you learn a lot more doing that than just being a tiny cog in a big ecosystem, is my personal view. But I think probably the most important thing is finding I see so many friends that I go to the pub with, and they go, I don't enjoy going into work on a Monday, and I don't really enjoy work. And I'm like, well, hang on a minute, you spend 70% of your time working. It's important that you find something that you like doing. So I'd say the most important thing is just not jumping into the first thing that comes on the table, comes around to you, but actually really trying to work out what you want to do and what motivates you. And it might not be the first job that you land in, but try and really think about what's going to motivate you and drive and sort of get you up in the morning. So that's what I'd say. It's easy to say that as well. It's a lot harder to find something that does motivate you, but I try hard to do so.
Definitely, I think that's great advice. You've got to love what you do, otherwise it's a hard grind. Okay, one more question, Al. Bearing in mind our audience here, if a young Al was to start his journey again, leaving school at 18, what would you have done differently? What advice would you give yourself?
Oh, that's a tough question. What I'd probably do, if probably come back to this motivating and researching point, I'd really sit down and at age 18, you're in a luxury position where you're young enough that you can try lots of things out. So I'd be probably trying to try more things out, try and apply for internships, email people, go for coffees with people, and really just spend a lot of time trying to find out what you want to do. I spent far too much time. At that point, I was trying to be a professional cricketer, so I was spending a lot of time on the cricket pitch. But I probably also spent too much time out with friends and not really too worried about what was going to happen after I left uni. But I'd probably try and really engage with people and go for coffees and find out what they're doing, find out what their job involves, because so many people jump into a job and don't really know what actually the job entails. So I'd really dig into the job that I really dig into sort of what family friends are doing, and trying to work out what's going to motivate you, and what you're going to enjoy doing.
That's really good advice. I spoke to a young lawyer today, actually, and that was his advice as well, was know your subject matter. He's half an hour away a day, and just know your subject matter, and really see what's going on about you and meet people.
100%. And I think if you can become, I think the key in your 20s is to try and become an expert in a certain space, because that then sets you up really nicely for the rest of your life. And you've got time. It's not going to be, it might not be, as I said, it might not be the first job, but when you do land on that job that really motivates you, try and become an absolute expert in that space. That's what I'm trying to currently do within venture capital. It's such a broad space.
Yeah.
And when we're giving advice to founders, there's so many different things we're advising on. But I'm currently sort of trying to become an expert on one of those spaces. So whether it's go-to-market strategy, whether it's fundraising, or whatever it is, if you can become that go-to person, then people are going to suddenly be contacting you going, oh, I know that I've heard really good things about your knowledge around go-to-market or fundraising. Is there any chance I could grab a quick coffee and learn from you? And suddenly you build a network from there, and you become that guy, and it opens up a whole load of opportunities for you. So that's what I'd say. I'd say don't jump into anything too early, but when you do find it, really sort of double down on it and become an expert in that area.
Great advice. And actually, I could spend an extra hour talking about metaverse and Web3 and Bitcoin.
We don't want to go into that. We don't want to go down there.
That's a really fascinating niche you've got yourself into.
Yeah, exactly.
Al, thanks so much for your time. That's been really kind of you. And good luck with it all. Hope it all goes well.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Dawes.
All right.
Great to catch up.
Bye-bye.